Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the social climbing series. And a part of this series on social climbing is going to be analyzing bad social climbing strategies. So, I want to talk about how the Black empowerment sector turned into white male worshiping. So, there was all this talk from content creators like Cynthia G about Black male worshiping. And now I feel like the pendulum has swung so far to the other side to the point where now we have people engaging in white male worshiping. By the way, if you're new here, welcome to the Pretty Girl Club. I notice a lot of you guys are subscribing and joining the Patreon, so thanks for being a part of the community. I'm really excited that we have our own secret society of pretty girls. But I see some content creators talking about how they feel like nice dark skinned black women finish last. And it's funny because they'll say, okay, nice girls finish last, but then you're not supposed to be mean as a dark skinned black woman because you don't want to meet that stereotype of being bitter and angry and having an attitude. And so, what's the solution? Do you see the mixed messaging that content creators are giving to unambiguous women? This is a bad social climbing tactic. And I also saw some of them talking about how they no longer want to be a doormat. So these women who are now white male worshiping, they have spent their lives being doormats in the black communities, acting as mammies and mules. This is according to their own talking points. They acted as doormats in the black community, and so now, as a way to rectify it, they want to be doormats in the white community. So they complained so much about how they felt like they were placeholders or the second choice when it came to like black men. And so now they want to date the leftovers of the dating market when it comes to white men. And I did a video recently where I showed images of the white and non-black men that a lot of these women are dating. And these are not, these are not men who look like Clark Kent or something like that. No, these men are often like they got the bald circle in the middle of their head, face card is declining, body is not T. And a lot of the images I'm showing on here, these are just Google images. So a lot of these are posed, or these are just models, or in some cases they are famous celebrities, kind of like in the case of Patricia Bright. She is a famous, rich influencer. So what I've noticed is you've got a lot of unambiguous black women who, like I said, they don't look like Olandria, they don't look like Patricia Bright, they don't have their body type, they don't have straight white teeth or smooth skin or even their own edges. And they're living based off of this limerence that some great white savior is going to come in and sweep them off their feet. And then if you look at the black women who are married to white men, women like Patricia Bright, for example, she could still get black male attention, Hispanic male attention, Arab male attention. So a lot of the attractive black women that you see with attractive non-black men, those women actually had pretty privilege. But if you go and look at channels like Chrissy's or Queen Trauma, these women do not identify as being pretty privileged, unambiguous black women, and their audience does not identify as being pretty privileged. So they can't relate. And then I see some women saying things like, oh, well, his looks don't even matter. It's more so about his wallet. Well, we know that about 87% of men make less than 100K per year. So a lot of these women are actually lying and fronting for social media. They're pretending like they're married to these multi-millionaire men when we know that less than 1% of the American population is millionaires. And then if you look up these men by name on the internet, they've got no LinkedIn page, no website, no business, no LLC tied to their name if you do a background check on them. And I think a part of the reason why a lot of black women go into being male-centered as a way to cope is because of lack of self-belief, lack of self-trust. A lot of these women don't have the courage to represent themselves or to stand alone. And that's because, according to their own talking points, a lot of them have rejection trauma. So they feel rejected by the beauty standard. They feel rejected in the black community by black men. They feel rejected in comparison to light-skinned women. In comparison to mixed black women, they feel rejected. So that's a lot of rejection wounds and rejection traumas for one person. So it makes sense as to why their coping mechanism would be to flock towards men that they perceive as being more privileged than them. The whole concept of hypergamy is you date someone that's on the same level of status or above, but what I see is a lot of these women are not being financially hypergamous. They're practicing what I call racial hypergamy, which is as long as you simply get a man of another race, you win. And it's like that's that proves that you literally are placing a social currency. You're placing a social premium on this man because he has non-black ancestry. And so that's where you get these scenarios, kind of like Queen of Kings, where she's with this white man that was living in the basement. She could have been a successful entrepreneur on her own. Or what they'll do is a lot of them will get with these non-black men and build them up. And we saw that when we analyzed the white men's Reddit page where they were talking about why they date white women. And you had multiple white men saying that they were dating their black girlfriends because she paid all the bills and like bought them a house and was getting them properties and stuff. So what you see going on is you have these educated black women who come from the black empowerment space, or they grew up watching a lot of that content. They get educated, they get access to money, and then they go and purchase a non-black boyfriend. So it's like they're being a sugar mama to a white guy. They're being a sugar mama to a random Hispanic guy. And this is not about me being against swirling or interracial dating. Obviously, we wouldn't exist. A lot of us wouldn't even exist if it weren't for interracial dating. So it's not about that. It's more so about the hypocrisy and the bad social climbing tactic, because their main talking point is they don't want to be a mammy. They don't want to coddle men. But then you see them coddling white men because they never call out white men for creating colorism, texturism, featureism, racism, anti-blackness, misogynoir, Hollywood, the music industry, all of these racist institutions, the reality TV show industries, all of these industries that directly exploit and disrespect dark-skinned black women. You don't see them ever calling out the white men who created those infrastructures. You don't see them calling out the white men who became billionaires off of the exploitation of dark-skinned black women. No, in fact, what you see them doing is creating content saying, oh, just put on a classy pair of kitten heels and a nice dress and then go and sit at a hotel so you can get hit on by one of these billionaires. So that's why I say that the black women empowerment sector, it kind of just turned into white male worshiping or non-black male worshiping. And then as a coping mechanism, they'll try to say, oh, well, he's Filipino. He still has melanin. He's still part black. Oh, well, he's a ginger, so he's part black. He has melanin going through his DNA. So they're making the one-drop rule. They're expanding the one-drop rule to include all races of people. And it's like, okay, so gingers are black, Filipinos are black, natives are black, Hispanics are black, Indians are black, but suddenly biracial women aren't black? Do you see the extreme coping mechanism there? They're trying to cope by saying that everybody else is black so that you can't call out their internalized self-hatred. It's the same thing they accuse black men of doing. When the black men were dating like Afro-Latinas, and then they'd be like, oh no, you just hate yourself. You've got unambiguous black women doing the exact same thing. They're trying to claim that an Asian man is black. It's the same as dating someone black. You're basically dating somebody melanated, so like it's not a big deal. There is no difference. And it's like, first of all, melanated people are not a monolith. Just because someone has melanin, it doesn't mean they can't be racist. Doesn't mean their family can't be racist. And it definitely doesn't mean that they have the same cultural history as you. So now you've got people abandoning and throwing away their black history that they claim to be so proud of. And they're running to become as multicultural as possible while simultaneously trying to compete with multicultural women. Also, most of the women who praise black girls for dating non-black men, behind closed doors, those women date black men, okay? Cynthia G, she dates black men. She has said it several times. And it's funny how her audience conveniently overlooks that. She has said several times that she does not date white men unless it is for financial purposes. So that implies that she has dated black men for emotional reasons, like, actually liking them physically and emotionally. Queen Chama, she has a black boyfriend. So who are all of these swirling icons that they're looking up to? That's why I said their actual standard doesn't exist. They'll take random photos off of Pinterest that are posed, or they will take pictures of reality TV show stars like Olandria. By the way, Nick is still not claiming her as his girlfriend. They are still not monogamous. Nick is still out fucking other people. By the way, it's not hypergamous. That's another thing as well. They do not care about hypergamy as long as he's white. Because all the people they look up to, they're not hypergamous. Nick and Olandria, that's not hypergamous. And even if you do look at some of the women who have gone on these reality shows and they end up with a white man, like let's take Lauren and Cameron from Love is Blind. Most unambiguous black women will never get cast on a reality TV show because they, number one, don't meet the standard of beauty according to themselves. And then number two, they say that the reality TV show industry is colorist and racist. So the doorway to entry of getting into an interracial relationship with a man like Cameron is that you have to participate in a racist infrastructure. So I find it hilarious how they love saying the exoticals are racist, colorist, texturist, and featurist, yet they're literally encouraging women to go on racist reality shows in order to access these white men. Oh, and by the way, remember Cameron from Love is Blind? Cameron, he was actually a rapper.
I was in a hip hop group and we performed a little bit.
Do you remember?
You want me to do
Yeah, why not?
Sure. I'm feeling like a kid with you. You're my main chick, those other girls are previews. Hop in the back, rolling up, then we're free to cruise. I drop the top down, feeling like we can't lose. I'm living in a dream and those haters wonder why. Why I'm so high up that I feel like I can fly. So we throw our hands up. No concern for those lames that desert us. They don't deserve us. Blast off. The course is like a crash collision, cause every choice we make is like a rash decision. But the truth is hard to swallow. We're the leaders, baby, and they just hope to follow.
All right.
He literally started talking in a fake accent in order to do his rap.
I'm feeling like a kid with you. You're my main chick, those other girls are previews.
I feel like those other women is reviews. I feel like they're gonna follow you. Hey, 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 it's Fat Albert.
I'm feeling like a kid with you. You're my main chick, those other girls are previews.
So he had more of like this wigga type. Oh my God, I can't take this seriously. So I'm just saying culturally, he had more of kind of like, Eminem, like that sort of white man or whatever. So it's literally a white man that is participating in black culture. But I thought that jumping in and out of blackness is bad. That's what they say to us mixed women, that, oh, you're just jumping in and out of blackness. You're participating in white culture, then you're trying to participate in black culture and hip hop culture. That's exactly what Cameron was doing on the show. He literally had a whole rap that he said during the show. Yet I didn't see black women outraged about that. No, because as long as you're fucking someone who's black and dark skinned, then you get a pass. So they have all this talk about cultural representation, yet they don't care that there is a white male representing black hip hop culture as a part of like his hobby and rapping on national TV. It's like, okay, so you don't care about that. It's not about representation, because if these women truly wanted to represent themselves, first of all, they would try to birth babies. Like for the women who want kids, they would probably want to birth a baby that replicates their phenotype. I'm just saying, like, even in my case, I don't even want kids, but if I did want kids, I would absolutely want my child to look exactly like me as much as possible. Same skin tone, similar racial background, similar eyes, nose, lips. So that's how I know that a lot of these women, they don't actually care about representation. Because if they did, they wouldn't go around trying to date multiculturally and create multicultural exotical children. And another thing I've noticed is that some of the women struggle with listening comprehension, because even if you listen to content creators like Cynthia G, for example, who was one of the pioneers of kind of this black empowerment thing. I don't like Cynthia G's talking points about biracials, but if you look at even her content, even she admits that she dates black men. So notice how you got a whole bunch of black women conveniently ignoring that because they just want to hear black men getting dragged or being called bullet bags or whatever. So it's like you got a bunch of women ignoring that, and they're resorting to white male worshiping or non-black male worshiping. And then you've got LGBT dating coaches like Anwar, who really doesn't have a lot of experience. He doesn't have experience even dating in the heterosexual market because he's not heterosexual. And he's telling women, oh, if you're dark skinned, the darker you are, basically, if you look like Lupita Nyong'o, you need to go for a white man. So it's almost like they're implying that your dark skin disqualifies you from having access to all other groups of men. And so you have no choice, really, but to go for a white man. Because a white man, he can take on the pressure. He can take on the liability of being attached to an unambiguous black woman. That's basically what they're implying without realizing it. They're not realizing that the reason they're saying that you should go for white men is because they feel like white men have the most social status. They feel like white men have the most dating market value. And obviously we know this is false. I mean, this is a decentering men style channel, so we know that that's false. But a lot of people who grew up on Black empowerment content, a lot of those channels are created by monocultural Black women. So the issue with that is that they're not very educated on what white culture actually is. So they refuse to listen to multiracial women who actually grew up in white cultures. They refuse to listen to women like me who grew up around white people. And it's funny because they claim to be so against the isms, but every chance they get, they want to run to try to fit in with the communities that created these isms. And it's not just white people. We see isms in the Asian community as well, in the Hispanic community. So it's like they're scared of isms, and then they run to another community that is probably even more anti-Black than the actual Black community. Well, it's not probably, it's a fact. It is a historical fact that the white community has historically oppressed the Black community more than any other group. And also, there's this pattern where whenever you see a Black woman sharing a testimonial of following Black empowerment content, her testimony always ends with, oh yeah, now I'm married to a successful white man. Now I'm engaged to a Hispanic man. So do you see how it always ends up kind of going back to men? So it's basically like the Black empowerment to white supremacy pipeline. That's basically what it is. That's what it is. It's the Black empowerment to white male worshiping pipeline. Because what happens is they start off with Black empowerment content. It's kind of this funny content where it's like making fun of unambiguous Black men. So they start off with that. And then in the algorithm, it starts recommending, well, how to swirl, how to date men of other races. So then you see kind of this swirling content, kind of this divestment content. That's what they call it. They say they're divesting from Blackness. They're no longer investing into the Black community. They want to now become multicultural. So they want to be alongside us, and then they want to create more exoticals just like us. So they don't realize that by default, they're also pedestalizing multiculturalism. They're literally placing it on a social hierarchy, saying that being multicultural is literally better than being in just the Black community. And you guys know my views on that. It kind of depends on where you want to live. Do you want to live in a multicultural country? Do you want to live in like a Black country where they have Black government officials and stuff? But you see women talking about how, oh, well, this is good because they're just expanding their romantic options. Ma'am, if you didn't have any romantic options in the Black community, you're not going to have a high level of romantic options in non-Black communities. Because if you look at the women who are on the swirling content, if you were to look at the beauty, if you were to judge the appearance of Queen of Kings and Pink Pill, both of those women are in shape. Okay, they're not fat. They have flat stomachs. Both of those women have straight white teeth, clear skin. They have their edges. Okay, so the women watching the content, on average, they don't even meet that standard. So a lot of the women that they look up to as these successful swirlers and divestors are often just the pretty privileged, unambiguous Black women. So those unambiguous Black women, they are receiving attention across the board because they already have pretty privilege. So what happens is a lot of women in the Black community experience depression because their expectations don't meet reality. They're expecting to go on a dating app and just have men flocking to them, but they don't realize that it's not their color that was holding them back. It was their lack of pretty privilege that was limiting their dating options. It wasn't the fact that, oh, I liked a man who was Black. Blackness is the reason. Blackness is my problem. No, their Blackness was never the problem. It was their lack of pretty privilege. And that's why you saw content creators like Stefco coming on here and saying, I don't have pretty privilege and that sucks. And then years later, she's saying, oh yeah, guys, I just want to announce I still don't have pretty privilege. Well, if you look at Stefco, she doesn't look like how Pink Pill or Queen of Kings looks, just in terms of like body type and stuff like that, kind of like her aesthetic, how she carries herself. Also, another reason why I say it's a part of the white male worshiping pipeline is because they will say that Black love is a scam or it doesn't exist. I don't really have an opinion on that, but it's like, okay, so let's say that's true. Let's say that Black love doesn't exist. Are you admitting that you are a bastard child? Are you admitting that all Black people are bastard children then? Like, do you hear the self-hatred that automatically comes out of that comment? Oh, Black love is a scam. It doesn't exist. Oh, okay, so you, your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your aunties, your uncles, your cousins, and them grandmama and them. So they were all just bastard children then? So you guys all came from generation after generation of bastard children? Are you sure that's what you want to identify as? Because that's what they're implying when they're saying that, black people can't love each other or they can't create a child out of loving each other. But then they turn around and say, oh, but I'm the blueprint. So it's like, okay, which one is it? Because if you as a black woman are the blueprint, then wouldn't that mean that your counterpart, yourself in the male form, is also a blueprint? So do you see the hypocrisy? Do you see how much the talking points kind of fold in on themselves? But another hypocrisy I see is they'll try to make this excuse and they'll be like, oh, well, it's okay for black women to date like Filipino men or Samoan men, Native American men, because those men are black. Those men are also black. They come from black people. The natives came from black people. The Asians and the gingers, they all came from black people. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. So then why do you talk shit about biracial women? Why do you talk shit about mixed women then? Why do you say that we're not black? So you're telling me that gingers are black, Filipinos are black, natives are black, Jesus was black, Moses was black, Abraham Lincoln is black. Everybody else is black except biracials are not black. So that tells me that a lot of their talking points are complete bullshit. They're talking out of the side of their necks. They're making up things as they go. And then they're trying to claim gingers as black so they can approximate themselves to them. And they're doing that so that you can't call them self-hating. They're like, oh, no, but he has red hair, so he's part black. He's got a little bit of black. So they're trying to one-drop Filipinos into blackness. They're one-dropping Samoans and Pacific Islanders into blackness. But another thing I hear them saying is that they're leveling up by prioritizing their own phenotype. But in reality, they're not, because prioritizing your own phenotype would mean recreating your phenotype and birthing it, right? It would mean that you're trying to have children that look exactly like you. But what's happening is you've got a whole bunch of women who are trying to have children that do not look like them. They want to have children who benefit from the same isms that they themselves spent their lives fighting against. So how's that going to feel as a woman who has a daughter who benefits from the same isms that you suffered from? And that's why a lot of us exoticals, if you look at our Storytime series, a lot of the women on here have talked about feeling jealousy from their own mothers, or their mothers chopping off their hair or saying comments like, oh, you think you're all that, when they're just children. They're too young to even understand what texturism is or what colorism is. Another reason why I say it's black empowerment to the white supremacy pipeline is because a lot of these women only have these talking points literally based on traumas they experienced from black men, whether it was being abandoned by their own black fathers, whether it was being rejected and having beef with their own toxic black mothers. In some cases, it comes from growing up in a dysfunctional black community. So maybe they're from a black city and state and county where they experienced a lot of the negative aspects of what I call Blackistan. So I believe that the black community has two different sectors. There's the black excellence culture, which is the black culture I identify with, and then there's Blackistan, which is all of the degeneracy that you see. So anytime I see a black woman trying to make it like all black culture is just degeneracy, that just tells me where she came from. She's exposing the fact that that's all she's been exposed to. She wasn't exposed to HBCU culture or the black student unions at universities or, like all of the people who did great things throughout history. So a woman who talks like that, she's literally going down more of a white supremacy pipeline because she's saying that no matter who it is, no matter what socioeconomic status they have, no matter how much success they have, if it has to do with the black community, it's automatically dusty. And so then they'll try to give this talking point to exoticals that, oh, the exoticals, you guys only attract dusties, or you're only the preference in a dusty community. And it's like, ma'am, if I'm dusty for being mixed with black, then what does that make you for being fully black? So do you see the white supremacy coming out there? I've also noticed that they promote getting with a non-black man as the end-all be-all, but it's like, okay, even if you were to marry some sort of non-black man, now what? Like, what is the prize about that? Like, why are we making men the prize in 2025? Why are we making men the prize because they're white? Why are we making marriage the prize? Every woman doesn't want marriage. Some women are single. Some women are young. They're only teenagers. So why are we automatically socializing young black women to prioritize romantic relationships with non-black men as opposed to teaching them how to start their own businesses, get an education. Notice how on the majority of the black level up channels, the black empowerment channels, majority of their leveling up talking points are solely focused around how to attract a white husband or, how to get a romantic relationship. I don't see as many of them talking about investments or starting their own online businesses. I don't see them focusing on that. So I don't like how they view their pathway to success as getting with someone who's not black. So they're perpetuating this talking point that non-blackness equals success and that blackness equals dusty and failure. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.